Hey folks, Nathan here. We're taking a look again at my favorite deck building games, and we're continuing looking at Ascension here. Before we move on into the actual Ascension expansions, I mentioned at the end of the last rather long episode when we looked at the first, second, and third editions of the original Chronicle of the Godslayer game, along with its companion piece, the Year 1 Collector's Edition, that there is actually a cheaper way to jump into playing Ascension. In fact, while it is somewhat limited, it is actually cheaper than jumping into Star Realms with one of its starters. Remember, a Star Realm starter is 15 bucks. Well, for basically $10, if you want to start playing Ascension, you can pick up the so-called Ascension deck building game Apprentice Edition. In a cardboard packaging here, it is, again, not up to the same standard as far as the quality of the materials that you have, but that's kind of the point. It's a cheaper to produce game, which means you have a cheaper to purchase game. This is, by the way, designed for 2 players, just like Star Realms is, rather than for the 4 that a standard regular-sized large box set for Ascension is, whether we're talking the first set or any of the other large boxes. So you have a reduced size for the cards available for the center deck, all taken from that first set. All of the cards are the non-foil but 3rd edition versions of the card, albeit with an A down in the corner saying it's the Apprentice Edition and letting you know how many are in the Apprentice Edition's center deck there. You have enough starting deck cards to have 2 players playing with 8 apprentices and 2 militia in each starting deck as per normal, here and here. And we have 15 rather than 30 or 29 of the Mystic and Heavy Infantry, and as usual, just 1 Cultist because he just kind of sits there as you rack up the rewards for killing Cultists over and over and over again. The cards themselves are great quality. What really differentiates this beyond just the size in terms of the number of players, number of cards to be able to play with 2 players, is 2 things: the play surface and the honor tokens. Honor tokens in the regular games have those nice plastic tokens, red for 5 and clear for 1. In this case, we get 15 of each for little cardboard tokens for 1 and for 5. So your tokens themselves, not as high a quality if you place a premium on that sort of thing. Most people, when it comes to just counters, don't really care all that much. The play surface, though, is a different story, but it serves a dual role. So let's clear that off. There we go, that's better. What we have here is a playing surface that tells us a lot about the game. The center row is clearly marked, and it tells you what to do with it. It points out what to do when it comes to acquiring cards and them going into your discard pile, and it notes that it's face up. It gives a place for both players to have a discard pile, a place for the decks, and it describes what to do with it. Places for the always available cards and instructions on what to do with them. Notes about what happens during your turn. The honor pool and notes about what it means. A place for the center deck with a quick explanation of what happens with defeated monsters. And then a spot in the void, and it tells you what the void is. So in essence, this is a playmat, just a paper playmat, but a playmat nonetheless to be able to give you places to play your cards when you don't have a standard hard Ascension game board, but it helps to explain things as people are playing. It provides a reference point. And on top of that, or should we say on the other side of that, it distills the rules of the game, at least for 2 players, down into a one-sided set of rules. So for those who are wanting to get into Ascension, they can play this one at a very, very low price point. Only $10, get a 2-player version of Ascension, and be able to dive into it. You won't have the fancy game board, you won't have the fancy honor tokens, and you won't have enough to play beyond 2 players. So you'll probably eventually wind up wanting to get another set, the core game, whatever. But if you're just trying to get into it and see if you like it, check out that Apprentice Edition for 10 bucks. I've actually seen this on shelves at Books A Million, so it's a little more widely found outside of game stores than the other boxed games tend to be. So if you're looking to get into Ascension, and you want some really nice cards with some supplemental materials just to get you playing, check out the Apprentice Edition. Especially if you're not sure about making the transition from playing on the app to playing with physical cards. This will get you a good sense of that experience without breaking the bank.